I have a lot of Muslim friends. I mean, I do. I am not like closed-minded. I'm very open-minded that way. My commitment, and it is an actual commitment to apologizing for things I got wrong, is real. The Iraq War, clear disaster. People of good faith, including me, supported it. We were wrong. Because they won't admit that, by and large, we're off to some other war under the same false pretenses, serving the same master, which is not America at all. It's the Israeli government. No, I don't think we should have a regime change war with Iran. I don't work for the Israeli government. I don't want to work for the Israeli government.
I'm a revert, and I've learned the entire Salah through the guided Salamat.
That means every single time I pray,
The person who taught me gets the reward.
5 times a day, from Fajr to Isha.
Sponsor 10 people for just £100 today.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. If you're watching this video and it's Salah time, please pause it and go pray and come back when you're done. Please check out the description section of this video to support the channel. I just saw Tucker Carlson being interviewed by an American host who, from watching the whole podcast, did not seem to be very fond of Muslims. However, what was quite interesting was, despite this stance, the host did not disagree with Tucker's claim that both the US invasion of Iraq and the recent American bombing of Iran, as well as a potential future conflict, was all orchestrated by the Israeli government. Let's watch the first clip.
I remember the moment that everything changed for me was in the winter of 2003, and I had someone I really liked was killed in Iraq, and the first day actually at Baghdad airport. Was a reporter covering it, and so I felt an obligation to go see it. So I went and I spent some time there, and what I saw bore no resemblance to what I expected at all. It was chaos, and I've seen chaos a couple of times, and I'm totally opposed to chaos. We created that chaos. And so I knew right away that this was bad and it would not end well. I almost got shot when I was there, and which is fine. It's not about me, but I just expected, the U.S. government runs this. Like, my family works for the government. Like, we're part of the government. We live in Washington. We're part of this whole thing. I know the president of the United States. I advocated for this war. I had one of the highest rated shows on TV at the time in 2003. And I felt implicated by the whole thing. Like, I didn't plan the war. I didn't think it up. I did think it was a little weird, but I still carried water for Bush as he sold this war under false pretenses. So I definitely felt like responsible a little bit. I find out that this is not what I thought at all. It's not going well. And it's clear it's not going to go well. And it didn't. A friend of mine from the New York Times calls and says something like, "What did you think of Iraq?" And I tell him, and he writes the story in which I say, "This is a disaster. And I can't believe I supported this." So I'm sitting on the plane flying from somewhere in Europe back to Washington, and I get a text from a guy called John Putharat, and he was my old editor. I'd worked under him. I did think we were involved in roughly the same project, which was like finding out what's true and then saying it out loud. And he sent me this text or maybe email that was like, "I hate you. I can't believe you've gone over to the other side. You're a bad person," attacking me personally for saying he hadn't been to Iraq, right? It had just started. He had not been there. I had. And I was just saying what I thought, which is like, holy smokes, this is bad. And he attacked me. I remember thinking, all this guy cares about is like some agenda that he won't say out loud. And anyone who gets in the way of that agenda, even if they're telling the truth, must be destroyed. I remember thinking, boy, we are not in the same business at all. And I started to look back on the stories that I had written at the behest of my editors at the Weekly Standard and other publications. I was a good writer and I was a very aggressive writer. They basically used that to take out some of their enemies and to push an agenda that they never bothered to describe to me. And that agenda, was, of course, was to serve the interests of Israel. I don't work for the Israeli government. I don't want to work for the Israeli government. And if you're like using me to help the Israeli government, you should at least tell me. But they weren't. They were lying. The one feeling you never get over, as many women can tell you, is the feeling of being used. That feeling still stings to me. But I remember thinking, these guys are really kind of sinister.
From what Tucker said, when he worked for the mainstream media, he wasn't someone who was exactly in on what the US were doing in Iraq, but actually believed the propaganda he himself was pushing to be true. I assume during that time when social media wasn't as prevalent, certainly not to the point it is now, where we can see exactly what's happening in any war zone as it unfolds, people like Tucker could be duped into believing the political misinformation and hype. I commend Tucker for risking his life to go to Iraq, to find out the truth for himself, and instead of covering it up, he decided to expose the corruption of the US government and the chaos they had caused. I believe this man has his moral compass intact because he admitted that his complicity in publicly advocating for a war with Iraq weighed heavily on his conscience, which prompted him to put his ego to the side and apologise for his wrongdoing. That takes guts, as it comes with many risks, which is evident from how Tucker's Zionist colleagues in the mainstream media turned on him and launched vicious attacks against him. As Tucker said, the US invasion of Iraq took place under false pretenses. Tucker expressed disgust at being manipulated into pushing Iraq war propaganda on behalf of Israel, which he claims claimed his pro-Israel superiors in the mainstream media tricked him into doing. The fact is, around 1 million people were killed in Iraq during that invasion, with no apology or admission of guilt from the US or Israeli governments, which is absolutely despicable, unacceptable, and requires a full international investigation along with court proceedings to bring the perpetrators to severe justice. Let's watch the next clip.
Not defend the murder of civilians in Gaza, or I'm just not that enthusiastic about violence. And I have a lot of Muslim friends. I mean, I do. I am not like closed-minded. I'm very open-minded that way. I will just say that my commitment, and it is an actual commitment, to apologizing for things I got wrong is real. I don't think it's unusual or weird. That's what you yourself are required to do. It's just not complicated. And because that is not required in Washington, because no one is willing to admit fault for anything, and because no one is ever punished for doing evil or lying, we keep getting farther and farther off course. So the Iraq War, clear disaster. People of good faith, including me, supported it. We were wrong. Because they won't admit that, by and large, we're off to some other war.
Yeah.
Under the same false pretenses, serving the same master, which is not America at all. It's the Israeli government.
Yeah.
No, that's not anti-Semitic. I'm not anti-Semitic. No one's ever found a single anti-Semitic thing I've ever said because I'm not anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
And if I was, I'd probably just say so, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I am opposed to making the same mistake again.
Yeah.
Doing the Iraq War again. That's my bottom line concern. That's what this whole current argument is about. Is I said, no, I don't think we should have a regime change war with Iran. Not because I love Iran. I'm a Christian, not a Shiite. But because I don't think the last time was good for America.
Yeah.
And, oh, you hate Jews. No, actually, that it's just not true. They don't want to have a conversation. They refuse to have a conversation about the actual aim, which is using the U.S. military to overthrow someone else's government on behalf of another country. They don't want to have that conversation because nobody supports that.
Yeah.
So instead, they immediately call you a bigot because no decent person supports anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
So when they call you an anti-Semite, people are like, well, I may agree with them on X, Y, and Z, but I'm opposed to anti-Semitism. So it's a way of avoiding the argument and then winning a separate, unrelated argument. And I'm not intimidated by it. I've seen it so many times. And I'm never going to bow before that because my conscience is clear.
I respect the fact that Tucker Carlson does not condone the death of innocent children in Gaza, like so many other soulless propagandists shilling for the Israeli government. I also respect the fact that Tucker has many Muslim friends and is man enough to apologise to the Muslim community as a whole for his previous uninformed Islamophobic takes. As Tucker stated, recognising the dishonesty of the American government in conducting the invasion of Iraq on behalf of Israel under false pretenses without any consequences and being opposed to them following that exact formula to do the same to Iran has nothing to do with anti-Semitism. Like Tucker said, these ad hominem attacks and false accusations are obvious deflection tactics used to cover up the Israeli government's plot to get Americans to go to war with Iran on their behalf. Tucker was correct when he said people are no longer intimidated by these labels because we see this warmongering nonsense for the cheap propaganda that it is. I don't agree with many of Tucker Carlson's views, but this I can definitely get behind because he's refusing to bend the knee to Israel and is instead exposing the evil they're doing across the Middle East, while at the same time waking the masses up to this reality. And that is exactly why the Zionist war and media machines are hell-bent on destroying him. Thank you for watching. Until next time, inshallah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allahu Akbar, Allah.